Hi and welcome Picasso Chartists. Today I've got quite a jam-packed show for you guys. Quickly want to discuss some of the news, major ETF bullish news at the moment, everyone waiting for that imminent BTF, if that's even a word, ETF launch on the 10th of January. We can go through some of the articles together. Also, I want to go, as per one of the subscribers on here, Cadena, let's quickly go and have a look at Cadena, being highly requested. Also, let's look at Bitcoin. Are we going up? Are we going down? Also, some nice Elliot Wave theory that I've prepared for both RUNE and Solana. Let's see where the price can go. Where's nice buying spot opportunities? Are we going higher? Are we going lower? Are we correcting? And we can tackle those scenarios. And first, before we dive in, please smash up the like to show your support and subscribe to get future notifications. Let's get into some of the news. The SEC meets with major exchanges to discuss spot Bitcoin ETFs. Analysts expect imminent approval. Well, for me, imminent means that it will most likely get approved. The question is when. Okay, I think from a, and this is just my personal opinion, from a psychological perspective or from a common sense perspective, perhaps, would you really want to launch an ETF into the market for Bitcoin when we've reached all-time highs, only to let your customers buy and then suffer a massive loss immediately after the ETF gets launched? Or are you going to drive price down a little bit so that when it gets launched and your customers start buying this Bitcoin, they have some upside to look forward to? Okay, just a thought in my head. We all have our own personal opinions, but something I'm definitely keeping in mind. Also, just in, the SEC giving Bitcoin ETF applications a final comments as we speak today on the 5th of Jan, when this article was posted around noon here in South African time. This is definitely as close to done as we've been expected, Bloomberg senior ETF analysts. Okay, so definitely we'll just have to see what's going to happen. So is it going to be a sell and use event, this big build up until the 10th where we then see a decent correction, or are we going to start correcting now so that when these ETFs launch, as per my speculation? Okay, also here's a nice little timetable that I found of which company will launch their ETFs. Okay, final deadlines: ARK Invest 21 shares 10th of Jan. So is this the date everyone's watching? There's quite a lot in March though, so still a lot of hype and build up that can happen until these dates get met. Or are we going to see some delays which can then send the price down? So perhaps next week news comes out to say that approval is still imminent, it's just been delayed. Okay, cool. So definitely a nice little calendar to keep in mind. And then what else? As per social media, this is the trend that's going around. Captain Fabric, okay, and also states, you know, everyone is watching this little triangle, little fake out to the top, fake out to the bottom, and expecting a higher move up. Okay, kind of feels like when everyone is expecting something to go into a certain direction, perhaps we're going to go into a different direction, you know, trade against the sentiment. What else? Also, funding rates has been neutralized with that little dump that we had yesterday. Just going back onto Bitcoin with this little wick down, funding rates has been neutralized, which means that, you know, the longs has been wiped out. Nice liquidity grab there at the bottom. So it is really anyone's playing ground at the moment in terms of, are we going down or up? Funding rates are neutralized, which puts the market actually in a nice bullish position, but you never know what's going to happen. What else? Think that is it. This to me was very interesting, is to say, when you look at the gold ETF when it was launched, and let me just zoom into this little map if I can, maybe click on the picture. When the gold spot ETF was launched during what was the 2003, looks like it was 2003, 2002. This is what happened to gold after the spot ETF, and I think this is what most people are anticipating for Bitcoin as well, is to say that, well, Bitcoin spot ETF we are over here, and this is what we can expect. Okay, this does look kind of like a straight line, but I can guarantee you when you zoom into this little market structure over here, you will see that there's lots of ups and downs. Yes, the trend is up and the tide is raising all the ships, but there are definitely corrective structures and ups and downs inside this momentum to the upside as well. So I'm not just going to bank on the fact that next week, the 10th of Jan, good news comes out and we just shoot like a rocket, never coming down. There will definitely be corrections along the way, and as traders, it's good risk management that keeps us in the game. But nevertheless, very interesting to me is to say that, well, look at what happened to the price of gold when the spot ETF got launched. Could this have a similar effect on Bitcoin? Some nice bullish news on Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin. I love the crypto space, what it represents, the scarcity of it, the freedom it creates. So definitely something that excites me to see this type of move that could potentially send Bitcoin to the moon. Or, well, this looks like more like Venus and Pluto. Okay, that's it for the news today. Let's go into a little bit of Elliot Wave theory quickly here on Bitcoin. Is to say that when I look at the structure, there's the triangle that everyone's keeping an eye on. Is to say that we had a fake out to the top, a fake out to the bottom, and currently consolidating above this trend over here. Okay, all good and well. What if I'm also just looking at this scenario? Just by raising this trend, we have a parallel channel. So what if this was an ABC and we've created a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves to the upside, where we are now busy with a corrective structure to the downside, where this is A, B, C to the downside. Okay, nothing is for certain in Elliot Wave theory. I love it because it's so interesting and complex, and all the levels and targets that you can work out. Nothing is for certain, and that's why we have to trade level by level, observing the price reaction when we get there, proof of support or proof of resistance, good risk management, and that is how we take the trades. So going on to a little bit of smaller time frames here, we have to acknowledge that we are now inside of this little triangle, okay, which could potentially be seen as a bump and run, where you have a bump, and this could be a run scenario where the target is the highs over here. When we come back up to this yearly level, we grab the liquidity for then a correction to the downside. Okay, another scenario is we need to just track this momentum that I've got here. Just take the brushes out the way. Okay, currently I'm tracking this momentum to the upside, and for now this structure looks corrective. To be honest with you, it does not look impulsive. There's just a lot of Elliot Wave theory rules that doesn't really make sense, but you know, just keep support and resistance in mind. Is to say that when I switch on my daily levels, we do have a daily level over here that we can still go and tap. Perhaps we break through here and we reject before we even come and claim the liquidity for a movement down, or we come and claim this yearly level, failing to break through this parallel channel that I've just shown you for a deeper correction. So I'm definitely still keeping bearish scenarios in mind, regardless of what the market is telling me. Let me just go back there. So, I mean, this is what the market is expecting. The market is expecting this move up. What if it never comes? We have to be prepared for both scenarios. Is to say that, well, this can be a parallel channel to the upside with a higher probability of breaking to the downside. Okay, channels or flags or pennants usually facing upwards has a higher probability of breaking down. Pennants facing to the downwards and channels running downwards has a higher probability of breaking up. Okay, so if this is indeed, going back here, oops, let's take the cookie thing out the way. If this is indeed a parallel channel running to the upside, probability wise we have a higher probability of breaking down, but also we have to acknowledge that we can stay inside of this range for a lot longer than people might think. You know, the market can remain irrational for longer than people can remain solvent. So definitely keeping an eye on this scenario, and that's basically it on the price of Bitcoin. Let's just take some of the brushes out the way, see if there's anything I'm missing. Tracking this momentum to the upside, like I've mentioned, remember also that we could still, so the scenario, sorry, I'm jumping around. The scenario that everyone is keeping in mind, and let's just clean up this chart a little bit, is to say everyone is expecting this scenario. We've completed wave 3, we've completed wave 4, and we're now expecting impulses to the upside to go and complete the 5th wave, which could extend all the way to $53,000, $52,000, but as low as the value area high of the entire bull run that I have over here. Okay, cool. And easiest way to work out a 5th wave target without going into much detail, from the top to the bottom, we just drag it across, we reverse it quickly, is to say, well, what is the most common 5th wave target? It's actually at the yearly level over here. Okay, 12361382. Okay, so could we still get another wave up here inside of this parallel channel to complete the 5th wave? Definitely a possibility, and not reaching even these all-time high levels that everyone is expecting. Or we could fall down from here. Okay, so definitely keeping these levels in mind. Remember the daily, we have a point of control over there, lots of resistance in this area. Are we going to break this trend successfully to the upside with high volume, or are we going to start correcting and breaking down here to come and make a deeper correction even to that $30,000 level? Okay, cool. Then let's look at day now quickly. Someone asked me in the chat yesterday to just quickly have a look at this coin, and the volatility is quite high, so this is definitely not something that I will trade with leverage. This is spot position. I mean, even inside of, when you look at this potential triangle that it was trying to form, you can see from the bottom of this triangle to the top, you're looking at 30% moves, 30% up, 30% down, and it obviously gets squeezed the more you go into the triangle. For now, it is breaking down. So could it be that we are forming a sloping parallel channel to the downside? I don't particularly enjoy and like expanding diagonals. They have a lower probability of playing out, so perhaps this is the scenario where we are losing the momentum to the upside. And possible buying opportunities for me is looking here at the daily, is to say that when you take your FIB from the bottom to the top, we have the 50% FIB level, which was tapped to perfection. We had a nice little move up, and now we are losing this trend to the upside. So definitely not a long option for me at the moment. If you want to have a look at some shorts, perhaps coming back to test the seed of the crime for further continuation to the downside. Also, the 618 actually looks like the best. If we're going to get there, for me, that is a place where I would buy. If we don't get there, I would not add this to my spot bags. It's nice little support. We lost it. We broke through, turned the resistance into support again. And it's also in confluence with this diagonal trend that I've got sloping to the upside, is to say that, well, if we do come down here, this is definitely, you have 618 support, you have support from these lows over here, and you have diagonal support. So this to me is potentially a great loading up zone for continuation to the upside. Okay, then RUNE, let's quickly look at RUNE, and I won't go into too much detail to keep the show for much longer than it should be. Is to say it looks messy, but let's go through it step by step. Is to say, okay, well, let's just start switching on. That is a potential 5th wave target that I have, because this could be the end of 3. Just switching on my Elliot wave, and what I'm looking at quickly here is to say that this could potentially be a 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 4 5. But keeping it simple, we've potentially already hit the 3rd wave targets. Okay, I just want to go down. That's the 5th wave targets that I've worked out. Is to say that when you measure this first wave, the 1.618, and I'm here on the logarithmic chart. Ooh, long word that. Yeah, I need water for that one. And a common 3rd wave target is the 1.618, which we've hit to perfection and currently rejecting. So could this be a longer wave 4 that's now going to form, even in confluence with this trend that I've got sloping up, before we will then see momentum to the upside again? generally speaking, you would like to see a much longer or a longer wave 4 than a wave 2. Okay, so wave 4s can tend to be twice, 3 times, even 4 times as long as your wave 2s. So ideally, what I'm looking at is to say that, well, if we do have a retracement, and let me switch off some of these things just to clean it up and switch on my fib. You then take a fib from the bottom of 2 to the top of 3, and a common retracement area for your fourth waves is, or can like to be, here at the 382, which we've almost hit, not yet, and 50% being a very common target for a wave 4. So yeah, about $3.2 is where I'd like to scoop up RUNE again. One of my favorite altcoins, I'll be honest, is I really love RUNE. Been following them since they've launched, and been benefiting from a spot bag perspective on this way up, planning to load up in this zone again. So purely from an Elliot Wave perspective is to say that, well, then we can go and complete wave 4 for a nice little 5 to the upside, where I've got a minimum target here of $8.8, which is still decent from a percentage perspective. From the bottom, potential bottom, to the top, you're still looking at 164%. Right, then lastly, finally, Solana. Let's look at Solana over here. Very similar pattern to RUNE, because they kind of started running together. And this is what I'm seeing with Solana, is to say also double 1, 2. And one could also argue that this is 1, 2, and the first wave inside of 3, where we now forming, well, completed the third wave, and we now need to go and complete the fourth wave. Also have the trend running up. And you can also see that when I start zooming into the structure, also here on the logarithmic chart, yes, got that one, is from the top of the bull market to the bottom where we made our low, you can see that we rejected to the dollar on the 786. Okay, so could this spell a larger little bit correction to the downside to complete a wave 4? And remember, wave 2 is quite lengthy, and even if you take this wave 2 into consideration, you want to see a deeper, longer wave 4 complete. And it can even be a shallow wave 4, which is just longer, touching this trend to the upside for then continuation to complete the fifth wave. Okay, I'm not preaching that we are going to correct on RUNE and Solana. I'm saying this is an Elliot Wave scenario that I am watching. Remember, third waves can be very explosive. So if we had to turn around here and start moving up, I would simply just move my FIP. Okay, let me just switch some of these things off. Oh, let me delete it. It's gonna be easier. Take this, delete it. So from the bottom of 2 to where 3 potentially will be, I will just move my FIP to get my common fourth wave targets. 50%, 382, 236. Okay, 236 not so common, but definitely 382 and 50% FIP levels, very common targets for your fourth wave. If we start correcting here, then it means the FIB is in, and we could be looking at these targets. So whether we correct very sharply or whether we correct sideways, these are the two areas that I will be looking for potential buy, perhaps even bouncing on this trend line. Nice little long fall to the side, which makes sense in comparison from a timing perspective to the wave 2 or the wave 2 over here. And the ultimate target then also, that if this is the top and we are going to bounce, speculating on the 50% FIB level, this can work out quickly from 3 to wherever 4 is going to end. We drag it across and you have a target of $167, which can also expand. It just depends on how impulsive the waves are and if we have counted them correctly. Okay, but these are minimum targets. This is a minimum target. Wave 5 can expand and be an extended wave 5, where we can also have a 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 4 5, which can go a little bit higher. Okay, but between $167 to $260 for Solana that I'm seeing. Okay, I think that is it from my side. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Please like and subscribe. Also, if you'd like to trade with me, I've got my affiliate links down in the description. Bybit, one of my favorite exchanges. It costs you nothing and it helps to support this channel. Until the next update, cheers for now.